My name is Naima. My question is, did George Washington have good handwriting?
That's an interesting question. Washington did have good handwriting. No one really mentioned it back in the 1700s if he had good or bad handwriting, but as you can see in this document over here is a very early survey that Washington did when he was only 17 years old. He was going out into the wild of Virginia and going around and making little notes as to different plots of land. And you can see he even drew a little bit, and so he was also a very good artist. But if you look at his handwriting, it's very, very neat for being 17 years old. Can any of you read cursive? That's how everyone wrote back in the 18th century. And then over here, this letter is from when he was 52 years old. And he was writing to a man named the Marquis de Châteauroux. This man was a general in the French army, and he was a very, very good friend of George Washington. They worked together when Washington was trying to work with a man named General Rochambeau, who was a French general, and Washington didn't speak French, and Rochambeau didn't speak English. So the Marquis de Châteauroux was translating between the two of them. So Washington, after the war, started writing to Châteauroux and then back and forth. And in this specific letter, after the war had ended, he mentions that he wants to sit under his own vine and his own fig tree, which some of you might recognize that sentence from the musical Hamilton. In addition to a letter from Washington, we now have a letter from Martha that is dated in 1797. So what we want to show now is the difference between the very readable Washington's letter and then the not quite as nice Martha's letter. Martha didn't have as good of handwriting as Washington, and she actually, throughout her life, dictated some of her letters to Washington, so she would have him write her letters for her, and then she would put her signature at the end. It still was written as though Martha was talking, but it's clearly Washington's handwriting, which is a very interesting practice that other people did in the 18th century.